What's up? Okay. Welcome back, everyone. And it's at this point that we hope you've had a very informative and productive day. And Gigi and I are going to talk a little bit about what we've experienced, but we certainly want to hear from you in the chat. Please chime in. You know, we just heard in the last panel, some folks had a wish list of things they'd like to see happen. We'd like to hear what you all want to see happen, and we'd love to hear what you've thought of the day and what you've taken away from it. But with that, I'll turn it over to my special colleague who has made so much of this possible and has been a real inspiration in getting this going, and I can't thank her enough. How's that for an introduction? Gigi.
That's great. I wanted to kind of circle back, Storm, to how we got here. And so Storm and I were going to talk at South by Southwest. And those of you who were for the opening on day one or with us a year ago have heard this story that we'd been looking at music cities. And we just had Kevin on and talking about, you know, I tend to show his work from 2012 in my classes at UCLA and the fact that, you know, how do we work together? How do we know each other? We found 71 different city studies done by great groups, and you've heard a lot of them talking the past 3 days. But we had all these puzzle pieces where there were studies, but then weren't necessarily glued together, and everyone was asking different questions and not seeing each other's work. Tended to be mostly in Europe and North America, and we were asking the question: can y'all get together? Can y'all talk about it? Can you see the work and the holes pre-pandemic, which wasn't our framing? And we spent the time for South by Southwest ahead of it going, do we get on airplanes? I mean, do we take this conversation to a place where people tended to pull together to talk about this? And so the first Amplify Music came together because we said, crap, we have all this work and all these people we've met who we know don't know each other. And so that became Amplify last year, where we sat up 25 hours straight. And about 2 a.m., I was listening to the India panels, and I was kind of wondering, what were we thinking of? And then poor Alex, who was helping us last year, he was basically going, can I go to bed now? And then Storm, of course, stays up all night. Most nights we made him get up early for this the past 3 days. So the question got to me when we got back together here, what do we want to do? And so did we want to bring the group together? And my comment is, if people can meet 3 people they didn't know and have 3 ideas from the 3 days, was somewhat iterative. And I hope, and you can share in the comments here, you know, have you gotten 3 ideas and have you met 3 people? But part of the question we kind of have is, what next, guys? The videos for days 1, 2, and 3 are already up. 3 has been live streaming, and that'll be up probably by end of day. And we're chopping it into pieces so you can get it and sharing it out with groups. But from all these conversations, where do you want to take this? You know, there's comments in the chat here a bit on making connections. But, you know, what do you all want to do at this? Storm, your thoughts from that commentary?
Well, you know, I've got my own list, and we're going to talk about some initiatives we have going, like the Amplify community sessions and things like that. And you know, one observation I'll make is that if I were to look at my list of to-dos, so to speak, from last year's conference, you know, there's so many new issues that have been brought up the past couple of days that weren't even, if they were a part of our agenda last year or the discussion, it was very small. So we have a new set of challenges, despite where we are in our individual countries and states and regions. A new set of challenges, and my hope is that, you know, that while we've heard from folks here today to talk about those challenges, that we can address those in the best way we as individuals can in our own communities. And I intend to do that in my own.
Now, you are also doing community sessions. So we're, again, up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not a great 2 o'clock in the morning person. I know we have people who are on this call that for them it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So we try to have diversity of voices, and we did not hit the goal of geographic and every other type of diversity that we really had at our peak. a lot of this we're trying to pull together in a pre-recorded series of sessions that you'll be seeing actually drop this coming weekend if everything goes well. Storm, do you want to talk about the pre-recorded community sessions that we have teed up between now and I think September?
Yes, and before I do though, you'll see that in the chat we've dropped the links to subscribe to our podcasts. So if you'll click on that and subscribe to those podcasts, you'll be receiving these things. And Gigi mentioned, we'll be visiting, so to speak, India and Colorado very soon. And we have Nashville in our sights, New Orleans, and we have Australia coming forward soon. And we'll be going around the globe, so to speak, to about 20 cities, states, regions, or countries. They're all communities, and they all have their individual assets that they've got going for them, and their individual situations and status relating to COVID. And where they are now. So we're looking forward to hearing their stories, and we'll be sharing those with those podcasts. And again, subscribe at the links. We'll be posting them on our socials. Follow us there. And we look forward to not only you all checking those out, but give us feedback and let us know how we might further that program as well.
And it'll be both I should say vlog and podcast. So there'll be
yes.
30 to 45-minute sessions, similar to some of the panels here, but local variety of voices. But it'll be both on YouTube as well as on the Amplify Music Communities podcast, which you can already find on your podcast players. At least the introduction with my dulcet tone saying, hey, we're going to have a podcast. If you have a city that you'd like to bring to the table, we've got some we're already talking to, but if you have a city, country, region where you would like to bring a conversation of what is happening, what is unique, what are the voices, what are the puzzle pieces you're dealing with, and ways you might learn from each other, please come play with us. Community at amplifymusic.org. Now I feel like I've turned into my old Disneyland ride operator. Community at amplifymusic.org is a place that you can reach out to us anytime during the year. I wanted to mention one other thing is that meeting each other, knowing each other isn't just us. We have 45 organizations that we've pulled into this network to spread the word. And one of the things is that everyone's having virtual events. And I talk to young people all the time, and I keep saying, I know you're home. Come to all these events. So we have an industry events page, and we have other like 4 or 5 other organizations we know who do this. But if you have an event to share, send it to events@amplifymusic.org, and we'll send it out to the newsletter. We'll put it on the website so that people know about each other's great stuff.
Absolutely. And we're back to communities just for a second. We will also have a page on our website that you can go to and see these things and see what's going on. And we heard from some people here in these sessions who are among the leaders in those communities that we'll be meeting with and talking to. So we encourage you to follow in those ways as well.
I need to say some thank yous. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to cut this part of the conversation short, but this is something sometimes that can be forgotten. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's in earshot, but a thank you to my husband, Brian, who's been putting up with this for way too long, including tiptoeing around the house while we're doing these recordings and things. And Storm, we occasionally see your fabulous kids in the background here, but anybody you'd like to thank on camera?
Yes, I would. And they are within earshot as well and staying very quiet at various times throughout the day. So yeah, my lovely, awesome wife, Laura, and my 2 kids, Lucky and Tempest, have been troopers through all this. And I really appreciate them.
So for those of you who have been behind the scenes on it, that you may have run into Kenzie Everett, who is out of Boston right now, but moving to the Denver area. And she's been the one who's been responding to Community for a while, as well as writing a lot of the back end of everything. that you've got the phenomenal Alex Dolvin, who we keep hawking every few sessions, who has run the tech for this conference, for the MIA conference, for Music Policy Forum each week. And I've actually lost track of how many different conferences and sessions that he's doing the back end for now. So you need to hire someone to do great work on that. One of my past students, and I'm happy he's doing such great things in the world. There's two young women who I will call out. I'll try not to tear up. So if you have run into Melissa Marie on the back end of things, and she's been the one sitting at the help desk and almost no one came to talk to her, that is my youngest daughter, UC Davis grad in design and mechanical engineering, who's in the background here. And then for those of you in the green room, you run into Mrs. Margaret Morse, 3Ms, who is my oldest daughter, who is sitting as an avatar. People thought she was a bot. We have a few more people to thank. Early on in the process, we had Emma Kale and Emma Nuttall, who were, and I think Emma, the second Emma's been in the chat, who are helping us get this started months and months ago. That we have Ali Thomas, who was working with the press, Sarah Ballesteros, who you probably saw on the socials, Stevie Page, who's been running marketing. Jake, I can never pronounce Jake's last name. Jake is working hard on the community sessions. How do you pronounce Jake's last name?
I just call him Jake J. Jake
Jedimus Denu?
Yeah, that's good enough.
And we've had other people coming in and out of the conversation. So this has been a great adventure. I must say, during COVID times, to have our Friday team meetings has been actually a thing that's warmed my tiny little heart. Going forward, we'll be having two of the community sessions drop this weekend. We're going to be having a mixer coming up in a little bit. But we're kind of looking to you all. Oh, I need to do a couple more thank yous before I forget. We have 4 gold sponsors who've been fabulous. Lyric Find, Robert Singerman, who does many things, including CAB, et cetera, but Lyric Find has been a supporter. And for those of you who are in the epic and eloquent Be Present Everywhere on the first day, I think it's his 13th of taking those around the world, helping you meet people. It's in the recording. You can meet all these cool people doing cool things. Cash, the Creative Arkansas Community Hub and Exchange. We're getting some shout outs from Jesse directly. Great group of people who's doing wonderful work. Banzukel stepped up early to come help us. We're great to have their CEO here earlier in a session. And Tully stepped up really early, Tully app. And I think you'll find from both of them in their expo space, and we'll be sending it on some digital swag from the conference. Research sponsors, the UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music has provided some research funding to carry this out. MIA, Music and Entertainment Industry Educators Association, which I can only say smoothly if I read it. I'm always fumbling. That one is a group of, Storm, how many different universities?
Oh, around 60 or 70, but they're national and international. So great programs everywhere. Lots
of great folks. We've seen a lot of them in the chat and cooperating. We had one new silver sponsor, which is the College of Arts and Media, CU Denver, which is Storm's home. I should say home. Hopefully you're actually doing other things and you're actually at home with your record collection. The Art of Mass Gathering, Majestic Collaborations and Performing Arts Readiness. Majestic and Matthew, who you've heard twice, has been part of this when we got started last year. And in fact, last year contributed 2 volunteers into the mix, or he volunteered 2 of his staff to be the core part of last year's conference. Label Logic, Jay Gilbert, what a doll. That you also, he's the one from Your Morning Coffee. It goes out to 15,000 people, and they shouted out this event a couple times over the past few weeks. And then LA Inception Orchestra, that some of you got to also talk to Akira Nakano last night in the, end of yesterday in the mixer room, and glad for that as well. But we have 45 other organizations who've been part of this. So a big round of applause for me on the folks who've really stepped up to be part of this stone soup adventure.
And we've had some interesting things happen. You know, I heard the music is a big hit that's been included here.
So
So
we're trying to
Alex
get
even
Alex to
has
write the
that.
playlist up.
Yeah, even Alex even has that talent. He should be an A&R, I guess. But
Well, he
and
was running operations from UCLA radio when he was a UCLA student. So there is a little more to this.
There you go. But I'm seeing a lot of interesting comments in the chat. Thank you all for your participation in that, and we're hearing a lot of great positive vibes. We really appreciate it. And as Gigi mentions, it's such a great team that we've been able to work with on all of this, and such great sponsors who have come forth and helped so much, and so many great speakers from all over the place and from so many time zones that it really does take a village, and we've made that true. Yeah.
And a lot of people hadn't met each other before we jammed them on panels. So we appreciate everyone who got to meet a few panels, spent a lot of time beforehand, and if you went up for digital coffee afterwards to continue to talk on these conversations. So that's always great. But I do challenge you all. Where do we go from here? So, I'm pleased to be in Southern California, have had both my Pfizer shots, trying to figure out what I want to be doing with my time and my ninth career. But we finally have calmed down in Southern California, but we have people that are part of this conversation in India and Brazil who are really fighting the good fight right now. And different parts of the world who we may not be able to even cross borders into for a long time. How do we continue to take this work forward and learn from each other? And then how do we reach out to each other after this and make time for each other and to share best practices or intriguing practices? And I feel so blessed from this conversation that I can introduce people to each other who are doing amazing music education work in other countries, or people who find me because of this and say, hey, we're doing this work. Who else do you know who does this? Because in my country, my region, my city, I'm the only one who I know who is doing this. So we've been working hard to try to create some master lists. And are there ways we can connect all the various music educators who are outside the school systems? Are there ways we can educate all these new multi-purpose spaces and collaborative spaces and incubators for music so they meet each other? Are there ways that we can have sort of the connective tissue be more robust? And are there ways, as Mark David said earlier in the conference, that we can be pre-educating our government and policy folks ahead of what we need and make that part of our ongoing rituals so that they understand? And I think we have a bridge now, but how do we work together on that across broader spaces? Storm, your wishes and worries going forward?
Well, I'll second some of what you said, as well as add the thought that, I'm going to totally come from the educator stance here and remind everyone that we are archiving these sessions. You'll be able to find them later. So go back and review them again. There were so many gems and so many golden nuggets amidst the conversation. Review them again. Share them with your students if you're an educator, and also, most every panelist and most every organization asks you to check them out. Join those organizations, understand those organizations, connect with these people. Again, as Gigi mentioned, that's one of the best parts of this conference is when 6 months from now, we see two organizations who just met here or two people who just met here collaborating and doing awesome things in their community. So anyway, let's stay educated and let's stay informed and support these organizations that are doing great things and these initiatives and educate yourselves, because as we move forward, it's going to mean all the more. Those are my 5 cents.
That's more than 5 cents. That's probably a good quarter in there.
Okay.
So if you'd like to reach out to us going forward, it's community@Amplify Music, but we're not done. And in fact, even though the light says live in the stage block, if you're in, hop in. I should rephrase that. This is the wrap if you're watching us on live stream or recorded. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Also, thank you to the people who signed up in Eventbrite. So we have about 700 something people who signed up, and people tip the tip jar. So as the president of Rethink Music, which is the nonprofit under this, Thank you very much. We ended up with, I think, about $550 in the tip jar, which actually pays for a chunk of the tech. So appreciate that as well. And if you'd like to continue to contribute to Rethink Next, we're going to be doing city programs and a lot of things going forward. First of all, we welcome conversations. A lot of them have even sprouted this week for that. So to come in and look at the future of music cities in your city, glad to talk about that work, including open mapping, and I can bend your ear on that stuff. But you can add us if you are an avid Amazon purchaser. You can add Rethink Next to Amazon Smile, and that lets I think it's 0.5% of everything you buy on Amazon, even your toilet paper, will contribute to the organization. And we also have a PayPal link if you do want to contribute or ask your organization or your employer to contribute. This is a Rethink Next is trying to get organizations around cultural industries to rethink positively where they'd like to go next. One last shtick, nextcareer.me is one of my efforts at the Maremel Center for Creative Futures to help look at next generation creative careers. Glad to play on that as well. But you can go now, if you like, into the networking area if you are part of the Hop-In crew. It is a little bit like a business chat roulette that you've got. I think it's set for 3 minutes where you can talk to somebody and then pop to talk to somebody else, as well as starting in looking at my clock a little over 7 minutes. Yeah. We'll be meeting people in the sessions area. We'll have 2 mixer tables. You can be at the table talking, or you can lurk. We've had lots of lurkers the past couple of days to continue these conversations. Anything else before we wrap up the formal scheduled part of our event, other than I drastically need a nap and another cup of coffee?
Well, yeah, I want to say it again. Thank you so much, Gigi. This has been an adventure from the day we planned our presentation at South by Southwest. I wouldn't have dreamed we'd be sitting right here right now having this conversation, but it's all been magical. I really appreciate you and your partnership. And I also want to give a shout out to the University of Colorado and the College of Arts and Media for letting me take the time to do this and involve the students and everything like that. But thanks.
And see you guys in the digital room, and see you in the digital ether. Thanks a lot.
Got it.